I wrote a short story in a college creative writing class, and the professor asked me to clarify a passage I wrote. I used the word abstruse in a passage of dialogue, and the professor asked me, what does the character mean when he calls his wife abstruse? And I said, he doesn't mean anything. But anyone saying something must mean something. Yeah, probably, I said, but he just likes hearing himself talk, so he uses big words, I said. And my professor said, that's fair enough. Can you do more with this then? I didn't get that that was part of his character until you told me just now. And I think it's a really interesting trait for this character to have. So I rewrote the story, and I had so much fun building a character that doesn't really know what words mean, just that he likes how they sound. Needless to say, this dramatically changed the story, and my next round of notes from the professor were basically, this is fun, but the story now doesn't make much sense. And honestly, I kind of didn't care. Like, I found something fun to do in writing, way more fun than meticulously poring over chronology and continuity and looking up what words mean. I got to do the creative writing equivalent of finger painting, just boop, boop, splish, splosh, here's my art. And while I can't get away with that too often these days because my co-writers Janina and Joseph and Bree would disown me, I still love art that says the story is the canvas and the characters are the painting, or the characters are the marble slab and the language is the chisel, or in Alejandro Jodorowsky's Santa Sangre, the art is the art and the people are the paintbrush and the story is the nude model and the language is the stool. We're steering into abstruseness here. Basically, I like a movie that cares about character beats and physicality and art direction more than it does anything else. I like a movie that is unique and at its most thought-provoking when no language is involved at all. Your mileage may vary. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What job at the circus would you like to have if you had to join the
Oh,
circus?
if I had to join the circus.
And you instantly have the ability to do said
to have like all the skills and
Yeah.
the flexibility and all that, man, I would love to be tightrope walker. Trapeze would be pretty cool, but I'd probably just end up being a clown. Like the terrifying clowns we saw in this film.
Boy, we did get some creepy ass clowns. I think they all mean well. All the clowns mean
they're friendly
very well,
but man, they look like melted cake. Is it cake or is it clown? Is my new reality TV show.
Yeah, I think anything aerial would be really fun in a circus.
Yeah.
Like if there's something about watching dancers in general, but like aerialists are really fun to watch because you think, I wish my body could do that.
Yeah.
It looks freeing. It looks fun. It looks like it feels good. It probably doesn't a lot of the time.
Doesn't.
Knowing tons of dancers, I know sometimes it does not feel good.
Oh my God. The amount of stretching, all the stretching.
Oh, man.
I've never been a very flexible person. And I think it was never in the cards for me
to
be like, all right, now we're just going to stretch out these groin muscles until they want to scream.
So we got to this movie by a long and winding road because we picked a different movie, Vacations of Terror, last week, that we found out last night was not available in English at all. And it probably would have made sense even if neither of us speak Spanish. But that seems like not fair to review a movie when you cannot understand what people are saying.
I don't know. That, subtitles, yes. Dubbed, if I must. But just complete immersion.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a stretch.
It was a bit of a stretch. So we switched over to Santa Sangre. And I don't know about you, but I'm really glad that we did this movie.
Yeah.
This is my first Jodorowsky film that I've seen. I have not seen any of his other stuff. I mostly know him as like a fantastical filmmaker, and I also know him through Jodorowsky's Dune, which was famously a movie that had many problems, so much so that they never made it, but they did make a documentary about how they never made it.
Yeah.
Have you seen this movie before? Have you seen any of Jodorowsky's
I'd seen Holy Mountain before, but I remember very little about it. I think it was one I saw in my youth when I was like blazing through a lot of world cinema and was like, whoa, this is so trippy. And I don't remember too much about it other than the sort of trippy visuals.
Yeah.
This one has come up on a number of lists and things, but I don't think I've ever seen this one before.
I definitely have not. I mean, to read the description of this movie kind of sums up most of the story of this movie,
Yeah.
but it tells you very little about this movie.
Yes.
We open on a naked man on a tree.
Yep.
In a hospital room.
Here we go.
Oh, we're in it. That's the just the opening visual of like a dead tree.
Yeah,
inside,
like in a zoo.
Like in a
you'd
zoo.
find in a zoo.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to describe it. And he's crouched up on top of one of the lopped off branches, and then he's got a phoenix chest tattoo.
Yeah. And his name is Phoenix.
His name is Phoenix.
Okay.
And we've got the doctors and the orderlies coming in to get him to eat, and he moves like an animal.
Yeah. They're like, please, you've got to eat. Look, we brought you this hamburger. And he's like, and they're like, okay, fine, give him the fish. And he takes that fish and he just, he loves that fish.
This is something of note. This is Alejandro Jodorowsky's son, Axel.
Yeah.
And then his younger version, we're going to flash back in a moment to him as young Phoenix, who is played by Aidan Jodorowsky, which is his younger brother.
I mean, why not? Keeping the family. I mean,
Yeah.
Axel Jodorowsky, super handsome. Does a great job, especially when we get to the sort of the Concha, the fingers of Concha kind of stuff. Like all that is like really cool performance-y.
Yeah.
And honestly, he looks a little bit like Paul Rubens in some, like in a light.
Interesting. Yeah.
I was having moments where I was like, he's given me Pee-wee Herman. He's like sexy Pee-wee Herman vibes.
Yeah. He's got a really boyish face.
Yeah.
Very like innocent, like just a blank slate of a countenance. But he they get him to eat, and then we get this really beautiful close up on his face, and his eyes sort of like it's a crossfade with another image of a close up of a golden eagle.
Yeah.
And then we get bird's eye view over the city. Just a gorgeous way to start a movie.
Right. Yeah.
And now we have Circo del Gringo. We have
here we go.
which is the circus marching through the street. We've got young Phoenix dressed in tails and top hat. He is the magician boy, the boy magician. He's on a small elephant along with Aladdin, the dwarf.
Yeah.
There is a band, there are clowns, there's fucking showgirls, there's monkeys, just all through the streets of town.
Yeah. Somewhere in Mexico.
Was this shot in Mexico? Was this or is this
I think it was
Chile?
I think it was shot in Mexico. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yes, it was a Mexican and Italian co-production.
So we've got an interesting family dynamic going on here between sort of young Phoenix and Monsignor, who is the red, white, and blue spangled, bedazzled, I guess, maestro. I don't know, what do you call it? The circus ringleader.
Yeah,
that's
he's the
word.
Ringleader. That's Orgo. That's his dad.
Okay.
Monsignor is Monsignor's going to show up in a second when he comes to the church.
Sorry.
Yes. No, it's fine. But yes, the ringleader is Orgo, who is a gringo. He's an American.
Okay.
Wearing his red, white, and blue and his spangled cowboy hat. We see
Always
him later.
Drunk.
Always drunk. He also has a phoenix tattoo on his chest.
Yeah.
Drinks a lot. There's a moment where Aladdin asks Phoenix why his father drinks so much, and Phoenix says, well, my mother told me that he killed a woman in America and cannot go back. And Aladdin's like, boy, that's tough. Hey, you want to go see the new tattooed lady who just showed up? Right?
It's so funny in watching art films in which, like you said in your intro, like plots, certain, like we've become so accustomed to like, Hollywood Western storytelling that were like, oh, normally this would be like a major plot point to reveal, right?
What's the mystery? Yeah.
Like what happened, maybe a flashback, or we'd be like unraveling the mystery of why he's there. Nope.
Mm-mm.
We spend zero time on that because we have some circus shenanigans to get to.
Okay, so now we're going to meet Alma, who's going to be a major character throughout this. Alma is deaf mute.
Yeah.
A young girl about Phoenix's age. She is in like a mime makeup, red lips, white face, dressed
like
as a ballerina.
Thin black eyebrows, the whole thing.
She's the tightrope walker, and she's got her adopted mother. I think she says she adopted her.
Indentured servitude?
Indentured servant, who is the tattooed lady.
Oh, man. This tattooed woman she is fierce.
Man. Wow.
And also wig.
Yes.
Straight up wig. So we're introduced to these two characters by the tattooed woman lights a tightrope on fire and just starts screaming at Alma, be like, do your job, cross the tightrope, do it. But the tattooed woman quickly gets distracted from, abusing and berating this young girl to this very, very scary stunt when, Orgo walks in and the tattooed woman walks underneath the flaming tightrope, and I was like, girl, that wig is going to catch a blaze. It does not, but it feels very close.
Yes. So that's our relationship with Alma. There's a moment though where Phoenix and Alma sort of connect.
Yeah.
And he does like his little magician gestures with his hands, and sort of like he's miming plucking something from a tree, and then when he opens his palm, there's a berry in it. And it's very sweet, and she gives him a kiss, and she finally walks across the flaming tightrope as Phoenix plays music on bottles.
Yeah, like colored liquid in bottles.
Yeah, it's really cool. Okay, so now let's talk about Concha. This is our other main character along with Phoenix.
Concha.
Oof.
Mommy issues.
Man alive, this movie goes hard into mommy issues.
Yeah, it does.
Concha is leading a religious order called Santa Sangre, the Holy Blood. And developers are coming to bulldoze their temple, their church. This is very much like in another 1980s movie. This would be a bake sale where we throw a concert to save the church.
Bake sale, the Jodorowsky bake sale, in which all the cakes are shaped like arms.
Boy, we go hard into arm imagery in this. Like the logo on there, they all wear red. Not
like
cloaks.
Tabernacle.
Yeah, like choir robe sort of looking things, but they're all just pure blood red, and they have a white. At first I thought it was two X's, but when you see it, what you realize is it's two arms.
Yeah, like one arm and an elbow facing up, and then an arm and an elbow facing down, making sort of a square or a diamond.
And when we first see Concha, she has her arms outstretched, right? So just setting up the whole notion of we're going to go armless in this movie at one point in time. It's all about what the arms do.
Yeah.
And the Monsignor shows up. So this man in this like royal purple robe shows up from the Catholic Church.
From the church, Mother Church.
Mother Church, to be like, hey, everyone, just
calm down.
Stop the bulldozers. Let me talk to my people.
Yeah. There's literally like this is so 1980s. There's literally like a cigar chomping dude in a like a Rolls Royce or a Mercedes, like in a suit, just being like, bulldoze it all.
And he's very kindly, the Monsignor says, well, let me see your church. And so inside the church, I would go to this church. I don't go to church, but I would go to this crazy fucking church.
This church is intense.
There's a pool in the middle of the church that is filled with blood. As we find out, it is not blood, but it is blood in the way that the wine you drink at Eucharist is not blood, but it is. So she walks him through their Saint Lirio.
Yeah.
The story of Saint Lirio, which was a young girl who was attacked by two brothers. And we see this in a series of like artworks on the wall, pieces of paintings on the wall. The young girl was attacked by two brothers. She tried to fight them from raping and killing her. So they ended up cutting off her arms, and she died in a pool of her own blood, which is this very pool here.
Okay.
That girl had a lot of blood. That is thousands of gallons of blood
and it's
in this
still
pool.
Flowing to this day.
Mm-hmm. And we built our church on her blood. And God, this scene, so funny. This movie is so darkly humorous, but there's the Monsignor dips his hand into the pool and comes up, and you see that the it's watery. It's not blood. It's watery, and there's like flecks of red in it. And he's like, "This is paint." No, it's blood. Crazy woman. This is paint.
This is paint. Meanwhile, there's like some member of the church has been praying the entire time while there's music going, and there's all crowds of people trying to get the bulldozers to stop. And Concha sort of takes this young woman and like holds her hair up, and they sort of do the baptism in the pool, and she's like, "Holy blood, holy blood, holy blood." Monsignor is having none of it. He's like, "This place is batshit. Y'all are fucked up. Bulldoze away."
Yep. I should also note too, because I think this is an important prop, which is the icon, the idol of the armless Lirio, the Saint Lirio, Santa Lirio, who is the armless woman who's like mounted up. She's like, "That's our saint." He's like, "That's not a saint. That's not how canonization works."
There's a couple of hurdles you have to jump over.
You have to fill out an online form.
Fill out an online form, get ordained by the flying spaghetti monster. It's also it's important to note that this saint, that their saint is sort of like a young schoolgirl, and has kind of battle royale vibes to her. Like, this is what happened like the day after Battle Royale happened. They're like, "Oh yes, we found the saint with no arms," in her sort of Catholic schoolgirl uniform.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting too, that she's in the girls' school uniform as well. So the Monsignor says this is heretical, and he goes out and he says, "Go ahead and destroy this monstrosity," and they fucking do. And Concha holds on to Saint Lirio and is like, "You'll have to kill me too." But Phoenix sees all this, and he knows this is his mother, and he goes and takes her hand, and they cry together, and he walks her away, and she walks with him away. And there's clowns that join. The clowns are kind of this repeating thing. There's two things that are kind of always, not always, but ever present. One are the clowns, which are, they walk and they cheer you up. They're friendly clowns. It's not to say they're not creepy, but they are friendly.
Cake or clown.
Let's cut into this clown and see if it's cake. So there's also probably my favorite just recurring thing through this movie is live bands just playing.
Oh yeah, always. And like, and it's weird combinations. Like, you'll have like a harp and a clarinet in the middle of the street, or a trumpet and a trombone. Just very ever present.
There was this kind of like, it's similar to like a cabaret type of vibe. Like, it's a small theater type of thing. It's a small theater sort of thing to do. And there's there was a revival of this, I feel like, on Broadway in the early 2000s with I guess it was late 90s when they did the revival of Cabaret. And then also there was a Patti LuPone led Sweeney Todd, like a pared down Sweeney Todd that was a similar thing, where the performers, the actors who spoke the words and played the parts, also were the musicians who played trombones and tubas. So like the everything interacted with itself. And I love that. I think that's a really fun sort of device. So they in the scene, we get this really strongly with Orgo, back with Orgo and the tattooed lady, and she is coming on strong to the boss man.
Oh, yeah, she is.
And the whole time there's like just a man in a marching band outfit playing a trombone, another man on like a clarinet, somebody on drums. And she is doing the most seductive fucking dance, and he ties her to the spinning wheel and throws knives at her.
Yeah.
By the side, by the side, by the head, by the head. She licks the knife that lands an inch from her face.
There's a lot of licking of knives in this movie.
And then a knife right between her crotch, right in her crotch, right below her
loving
crotch.
it.
Boy, and she is writhing like he hit the spot.
Yeah.
And when Phoenix and Mom return, Mom, Concha, surprisingly, is none too happy about any of this.
Yeah.
Threatens tattooed lady. There's a sort of a wrestle over the knife, but we also sort of learn in this moment that Orgo, besides being the knife thrower, is also the hypnotist.
Yeah.
And so he hypnotizes Concha and carries her away. And as he's carrying her away, the band tries to follow, and one of the clowns stops them. It's like, no, leave them alone. Stop playing. The end.
You got to wonder how these two hooked up in the first place.
They seem, you know, they're both very intense people. They match energies, if not interests.
Yes. You know, she's got her church activities. He's got his drinking and knife throwing and, you know, but it seems like it's not a May, December kind of thing, but, you know, maybe I just wonder how that first date went.
I do too. Yeah. It's let's call it April, August sort of thing. Yeah. So,
well, now we've got an elephant funeral to get to here.
Okay, so Phoenix goes to, there's the elephant. The elephant this is so disturbing, but the elephant is like really, coughing up blood, spitting up blood out of its trunk.
Yeah.
And like volumes of it, like not just like a trickle, like just it's spewing it out like a fire hose almost. And Phoenix sees this, and he hears a noise over in the tiger cage area behind the hay bales, and he peeks up and he sees Mom and Dad fucking, and Mom is like screaming out. I mean, it's like she's been hypnotized, and Orgo is doing this to her, so it's all disturbing.
And now we understand why in the opening shots our protagonist is in a mental institution. Not quite. We've not reached the cherry on the armless cake yet, but man, this is a rough childhood for this guy Phoenix.
So the elephant does die, and there's a funeral march through the city streets for the elephant. There's a giant ass coffin on top of a carriage. Orgo is
all in black.
Yeah, everyone's all in black. Orgo is in a black spangled cowboy outfit, carrying a black and white American flag. One great detail is the clowns are in the parade as well, and the clowns have like little things near their eyes that squirt water. So the clowns are I don't know why this got to me so much. I really liked this a whole lot because it is playing the idea of the clown is reflecting your emotion to you. And it's almost like a talk therapist, but with a clown.
Yeah. And clowns, clowns don't cry realistically. They cry like clowns.
Yeah. They don't laugh realistically. They laugh like clowns. And that whole moment is great. And they get to the riverbed where they cut loose the coffin, and it slides down the top of this embankment and into the dry riverbed below, where then hordes of dust-covered locals just run screaming after it and hack it open so that they can get the elephant meat.
And they're pulling out like just pieces of elephant out of this thing. Ugh. Oh man, you could do anything in the 70s, the 80s.
So Orgo takes his son Phoenix back to the house, whatever, and ties him to a chair, takes off his robes.
He's like, I know you're having a rough day, kid.
But let's turn that frown upside down by giving you a giant chest tattoo of a phoenix with my knife.
Wow. In a church.
In a church. And at the end, like his chest has just this bloody bird sprawled across his like 12-year-old chest. And in the mirror, he says, now you're a man just like me, and dresses him in a glitzy cowboy outfit.
Wow, Dad. Come on.
And he sees Alma outside, and Alma touches his wound and then does like the little bird, like interlocking your thumbs, and does the little bird flying, like the pain flying away.
Yes.
It's beautiful. Alma is the original manic pixie dream girl.
Yes, she is.
So we see the circus performance.
Yeah.
Phoenix is doing his magic trick with Alma gets into the box. They cover it with the blanket. They pull the blanket off, and suddenly it's Concha inside. And then Concha is lifted up by her hair. She's the trapeze artist.
This was actually one of the hardest things for me to watch.
Yeah.
I was like, ow, 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 ow. It's like almost like when I watch people jump from even like 3 feet. I'm like, ow, my knees.
Yeah.
My knees hurt for you. My scalp was hurting for this lady.
I think one of the things that really makes this so visceral to watch, so difficult to watch, is that you see the wobble in her body. Like he really frames her body in a way where you can see kind of the twitch of the muscles as she's trying to lift and move and contort herself. And it's very realistic. It is what a trapeze artist looks like up close, but usually you don't see the trapeze artist up close. You usually see them from a very wide angle, so you don't see all the nuances of how much the muscles struggle to do this. And so it's super visceral. Like I was feeling this in my neck and in my legs. But she sees from high above Orgo hitting on the fucking tattoo lady again.
Oh man, they're like not being subtle at all.
So she screams, put me down. And so Orgo and Tattooed Lady have gone back to his tent. And Concha, locks Phoenix in their trailer.
Yeah.
And is like, you keep quiet and you stay here. And she goes to deal with this fucking husband of hers.
Oh man, and does she ever?
So weapon of choice for Concha is just a bottle of sulfuric, like not even a bottle, like a jug,
like a cartoon moonshine jug of acid.
What do we use sulfuric acid for? Like in my mind, it is an industrial compound that we use for like dye or lye or I don't think it's like rubbing alcohol. I don't think it's like a raw compound that you need at home. I think you use it to make soap.
Yeah.
In a soap manufacturing facility is my y'all let me know if I'm wrong, but that's my impression of what sulfuric acid does. But we have it at the circus because why not?
Why not?
And she comes in, she snatches Orgo's wig.
Yes, she does.
She literally snatches it off his head.
Wig snatched.
She douses his dick with acid.
Yep.
And then starts fighting Tattooed Lady. And Orgo says, you know what? Enough is enough. Pushes her against the wall, and with 2 knives, just upward swoop, arms off.
Like Barbie doll arms.
Mm-hmm.
Bloop.
So, yeah, she has lost her arms. There's just blood spraying out. It's a really cool but a very strange like overhead shot of her body.
Yeah. And it's also she's still in her acrobat, like aerialist costume, which is very lots of tulle around the shoulders, which is going to be a thing for Concha for the rest of the film.
Yep.
For reasons.
Uh-huh.
But it does this kind of thing where, it sort of masks, the trick of what we're watching, which is the lady has arms, but we have to also make prop arms that can be lopped off.
Yep. So Orgo, I thought, so he cuts her arms off, and then immediately, like in the pool of blood where her body is, chickens immediately come for the blood and start pecking around.
Chickens start eating those arms.
And then Orgo staggers naked and bleeding from the crotch through the lot outside.
Again, musicians playing in the street, unperturbed by this.
Totally. And Alma is on the street watching this. Phoenix is trapped in the trailer watching this from the window. And he just walks out to the entrance of the circus and cuts his own throat down, and the dogs come and lap up the blood.
Yeah. And then the tattooed woman sort of takes Alma by the hand, puts her in her little pink tattooed mobile, and drives her away.
With like Phoenix crying and holding his hand to the window, and Alma crying and holding her hand to the window. And
origin story complete.
My God. So now we know why he's in a mental institution present day.
Yeah. He's working through some issues.
So the doctor there, the orderly or whatever, the head doctor at this medical institution is introducing Phoenix to a bunch of other patients. He's very Jesus looking. He's got a beard and long, like white. He's very white Jesus looking in his robes and long hair and beard. And he, it almost feels like he is blind and mute as well. Like,
he has this look of like stunned on his face. Like honestly, listen, if this was your origin story, just trying to parse out reality is tough enough.
Yeah. And so they, he introduce the other patients come and want to touch him. All of these other patients are patients with Down syndrome, and they're all kind of like touching him, to familiarize, and then the doctor encourages him to touch them too, as you would maybe a blind person to like feel your environment. And the doctor says, here's Mauricio and Daniel and Dario and whoever else, and they're all going to the movies tonight, and you're going with them.
Oh, okay, that sounds cool.
Little fun. I like movies. What are we seeing? Nomadland.
Great.
6 Degrees of Separation. Any number of good movies are out these days. So at the cinema, the second most disturbing thing that's going to happen at the cinema is this fucking man dressed as Robinson Crusoe being like, welcome to the movies, kids.
Oh my goodness. Yes, terrifying as well. I love it how like some of the scariest things in this movie are the incidental, not scary things.
Yes.
The caker clown, the giant, it's like a paper mache bobblehead kind of thing.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
Super horrifying. But what's going to happen is the whole medical staff is just like, well, we're going out to dinner. We're actually going to make out in the van while y'all are watching the movie.
Like I'm taking mom out to tea. The orderly's going to go make out with this other nurse over here.
Have fun, kiddos. We'll be back in 2 hours.
Pick you up in 2 hours.
And immediately a pimp stops him and is like, hey, movies are fun, but you know what's real fun? Cocaine and hookers.
Cocaine and hookers. This is wild. And this guy like loads up these poor people. And it's very much like, we're watching something that you're like, why am I watching this? Why am I doing this, Jeffrey? Why is this happening? What is going on? What is my life? Am I watching this for fun? Am I watching this for a podcast? What is going on here? Why am I watching someone force feed cocaine to people with Down syndrome? What's going on here?
I do not know.
And you can tell that the actors are like kind of get it. But like they, like they understand sort of what's happening, but it's really more of a pantomime.
Yes. Yeah. It's so strange, this scene too, because he's certainly like a bad character, right? Because he's a pimp and a drug dealer and whatever else, and he beats a man up quickly on the street at one point in time. But there's also something just like whimsical, almost circus-like about him, like a clown, like a person who's just leading you through another adventure. But this adventure is through like decadence, right? Yes. As opposed to iniquity, I think is the word. There's he takes them all to Dolores. He takes all of their movie money out of their pockets and gives Dolores her share and takes his own share, and is like, have fun with them. And Dolores gathers them up in her arms and carries them off. Meanwhile, but Phoenix just holds off for a second, because he looks over and he sees one of the other sex workers, and it is the tattooed woman.
Yeah. And she's looking a little rough these days.
She is. She's gone.
Her wig, different wig. This is more like Twisted Sister, like glam rock wig, rather than Curly Q Bernadette Peters wig. So her wig station in life has gone down a few levels.
Wig station. Add that to the band name document now. So next day, he's woken up. Here's a chicken thigh with some white bread and green jello. Blech. That chicken thigh needed a couple more minutes on the grill, really I think.
Yeah, it did. Also, if your patient is like thinks he's a bird, I don't know if serving him bird meat is the way into therapy.
No, it's a really good point. Yeah. Wait, what did they try to feed him? Because in the opening scene, they try to feed him something and he doesn't want it.
It was like a steak or something.
Okay.
And then it was pretty normal looking food.
Then they offered him the fish and he wanted the fish, which makes sense for him thinking he's a bird, that he, whatever. But next day, they're like, how did you have fun last night?
Jeffrey, I swear to God. The next time we're on tour and you're like, hey, Cecil, how are you feeling? I'm not going to say a single word. I'm just going to do like 2 back somersaults and a cartwheel and go, ta-da, and do like Mary Lou Retton arms.
And I'll just stand there with a big smile being like, that's good. That's very good. While John and Symphony and Jake are all standing in the background just like giggling because they all got laid by Dolores the night before.
That's it. He's cured. Or at least he's not depressive. Now he's sort of more manic.
Yes, that's right. That's a really good delineation there. Well, immediately upon everyone leaving his space, he hears his mother calling his name.
Uh-oh.
Very low security at this hospital.
Well, the fact that they give him a rope, like a tire swing rope, just in his little creature habitat that he has to live in. He's like, I don't know. I guess I'll just use this to crawl out the window here.
Yeah, climb down the building because he sees his armless mother across the street, and he climbs down to her and walks away with her.
And I love this. Like, from this moment on, this is where I was like, uh-oh, trouble's a brewing, because how would his mother be there? Impossible. And 2, the street is sort of covered in mist, and they just walk off into a cloud of mist. And I was like, I'm not trying to guess the ending of the movie, but I don't think mom is really there.
I immediately thought about that Icelandic movie we watched a couple years ago for the show, Rift,
yeah,
wherein the boyfriend
that
or whatever
may or may not be there,
shows up, and I'm like, you're not real.
You're not
you
real.
100% are.
You are in this character's mind. And I think we know this, but the filmmaker wants us to not know this.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to catch up with the tattooed woman now. So we've got back in the streets.
Decadence.
Decadence.
Oh my goodness. It is lit.
Uh-huh.
In this neighborhood tonight.
Yeah.
It must be like a Day of the Dead celebration. There's like skeletons everywhere.
Yeah.
There's literally conga lines through the street.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much eating, drinking, and sex for money happening.
Yeah.
Out in the streets every night of this town, it seems. But this other pimp sells the tattooed woman's services to these three soldiers.
Yeah. And it's again, like it's kind of interesting. They're like, everybody has something odd about them. Like all three of these soldiers, they're not just three soldiers. Like one of them has like tufts of hair growing out of his ears.
Yes.
The other one's kind of a giant. Like everybody is like some version of sort of circus, like unique freaks and oddities kind of thing. Even, we could just say three soldiers employ a prostitute, but even those three soldiers have this like really unique, odd stamp on them.
Yeah. Yeah. One of them is like a giant. He's huge. Like he's so towering and big. It's like George Mirasan from Billy Crystal's My Giant, or and they he wants another girl, and she's like, well, I've got another girl, you show me the money. He gives her the money. She takes him to the back room, and there is adult Alma, or older teenager Alma,
21-year-old Alma,
21-year-old Alma sleeping, and she tattooed woman's like, she's a deaf mute. You can do whatever you want, and no one will ever hear.
Is that a selling point?
That's weird. That's a weird thing. I guess for Giant Soldier Man it is, because he picks her up and she struggles against him, but she manages to smash a bottle across his head and escape.
She escapes. And I actually kind of love this scene in which she's sort of like caught up in this tumultuous street party.
Yes. I love this moment too, because we get full on David Lynch here, because she runs into a man in a suit smoking a cigarette, and they make a long eye contact,
and he like touches her face,
and
you're like, okay, don't make it creepy. Don't make it. Oh, it's already creepy. It's already creepy.
You know how to make it super creepy is to peel your own ear off.
He peels his ear off and then delights in touching his ear to her face.
It tries to make her like eat the ear at one point.
What? Huh? What? What?
Whoa.
And she has had enough. Almost like, you know what? I'm fucking done with this town.
Yeah.
So she finds a blanket and she just curls up on top of a Mack truck and waits out that she's like, fuck all y'all.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, thank God. Girl, get to safety.
Yeah.
And now we have discovered our horror movie. This is a horror movie podcast. It's important to note we've seen a lot of weird shit in this movie so far, but now we have entered true Italian giallo style horror film.
This is so giallo, right? Like the tattooed woman back at her hovel or whatever is attacked by an unseen, not black glove wearing, but an unseen stranger.
Yeah. With the knives, with the throwing knives.
So it's very clear that this is Phoenix doing this, but it's not just a stab, you're dead. It is a continual stabbing as she tries to
slashing. And man, there's actually, it's one of those things where, how to justify this is it's very gruesome and very violent, but also strangely beautiful, because like she has like a lace curtain in her doorway, and she like gets stabbed through it, and like it's like blood on white lace, and she's like bleeding and crawling, and the lace is like crawling behind her. It's gruesome, but also like so artfully done.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the final shot is her running to the window, and then like the knife comes through the back of her neck and out through the front of her throat, and
Wow.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Um, the next morning, Alma comes home to find her mother's dead body, but she also, through this, is walking through the streets, and this is where we see the aftermath of last night's party. There's just like paper mache skeletons everywhere. The three soldiers are drunk. One of them is
Yeah.
passed out on a
Like a paper
costume of a
mache devil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like
the
wrapped up in the arms of the devil.
other two are dancing together, and there are these three men in white suits, like mariachi band style, playing music.
Yeah. Except one of them has a harp, which I was like,
Right.
okay, interesting. Wow, that's really classy of you guys.
So now let's talk about Concha and her magic hands.
Oh, here we go.
So Phoenix is now dressed in magician outfit again. He meets Aladdin again, and he and Aladdin are working with Concha at this local theater, doing
at the burlesque show.
The burlesque show.
She's got a specialty act, Concha does.
She does. So it's Concha dressed with her, like tool escaping from her shoulders, and she's got her arms with, you're like, oh, look, she has arms. There's a whole live band on stage. No hay banda. And she, these hands, when she's telling a story. In the beginning, God created heaven and the earth and water and man and birds and whatever. And the hands are fluttering about, and they're these long, just blood red nails on them. But as you see the hands start moving closer, as the camera gets close in on her, you're like, she has very large hands.
Yes.
And then you see behind her is a man's head, and we realize this is Phoenix, is her arms.
Yeah.
Afterwards, there's another act at the burlesque show, a beautiful young woman named Ruby, who tells Phoenix.
Listen.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God. Ruby's introduction. Literally, she's backstage. There's a man like jabbing heroin into a needle into her arm. She's like getting into her little pinup schoolgirl outfit. She's like, with your hands and my body, we could really make something. I'm like, y'all, theater is rough. Theater people are weird.
She does her whole act, which is way less burlesque and a lot more stripteasy thing. Like it's much more salacious. Whatever, it's fine. But she does a much more like sexual act, right?
Yeah. There's a guy singing in the background.
Yeah, that she walks out on a catwalk, and the men below tear her clothes off. Phoenix is super interested in her, and he's like, can we see each other later?
Yeah, let's meet at the theater later.
Phoenix, if I could speak to you for a second, Phoenix, it would be that I think you need to do some introspection about what your father has done to you too. Not just your mother, but your father, because his idea of flirting with this girl, and it seems effective at first, but he ties her to the wheel or to the wall and starts throwing knives at her.
But he doesn't even tie her. He does like hypnotize.
Oh, that's right. He hypnotizes her. Yeah.
Like literally just does, makes a little bow with his fingers. But she's into it. And he's essentially, and he's in the exact same sort of red, white, and blue spangled cowboy outfit that Orgo had on.
And and she's writhing just like the tattooed woman was earlier. And suddenly Concha enters. She was like, you, Phoenix, this girl has defiled you with your lust. You know what you have to do. You have to kill her.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay, Mom.
Uh-oh.
And this is the moment we realize she has mental control over his arms.
Yeah.
and the last knife he throws goes right into the center of her chest.
And it's so interesting, this moment, because Concha literally rolls her eyes. She's like, oh, stupid. Because she realizes that the young girl is hypnotized. So even though she has a knife in her heart, she's just sort of blank. And Phoenix has to, like, you know, break the spell. And that's when she starts screaming.
Thought that was so disturbing of a moment. Yeah. Like, it's really good, but it's because she tells Phoenix, wake her up.
Yeah.
So that she will be conscious of her death. And so she's like, well, get the car. Let's grab that body. Time to go bury it. So they go, and he buries her in a grave and paints her body white.
This is his thing. Like, he's going to do this a couple times, which, you know, if you have arms that are being controlled by your homicidal dead mother, and you start killing pretty ladies,
yes,
but you feel bad about it, your sort of ritual before you finally bury them is to paint them white.
Yes.
And sure enough, she becomes a goose.
Yep. Yeah, the white goose like flies up from this glowing grave at the end.
I actually love the fact that, like, Phoenix is completely conscious that he has these hallucinations throughout this film. You know, from here on out, like, he'll have these sort of animal hallucinations, geese, chickens. Oh my God, the snake moment is exquisite. But I kind of but it's like he's like, listen, I'm troubled. I have spells, you know, I have hallucinations, but don't worry, they'll pass.
Yeah. So he wakes up the next morning. He is sharing a bed with his mother.
As an adult. Matching pajamas. He must be her arms, Jeffrey.
That's right. So he gets she's like, get my robe and get my breakfast. And she also tells him, because he's having these bad dreams where he's the dying elephant.
That's right.
And so he wakes up terrified from his dreams, and she says, you can't atone for your sins with nightmares. It's a great line, by the way. Yeah. It's a really good line. I love all of this scene, because now it's not just, it is performative in the sense that this is a movie, but it's not performative in the sense that it's not on a stage now within the movie. It is just the two of them at home, and he has to sit behind her for everything and move her arms and gesticulate what she's saying.
Like, scratch her face. You know, press her orange juice. You know, she even tries, like, crocheting at one point, and she's like, knit one, purl two, knit one, purl two. And he's like trying to, like, keep up with her.
Yeah. They play her concerto. I want to play my concerto.
Yes, which is the song that she used to sing back when she was a cult leader at a church. It's so,
these two actors are in such beautiful sync. In these scenes, I adore them. I think the physical performance here is outstanding. It's exquisitely good. And the end of the scene on the piano, they share a romantic kiss.
Hey, mommy.
Oh, mommy. Okay, so then he is watching the original The Invisible Man.
He's a fanboy.
In cosplay. Yeah, he's
cosplaying The Invisible Man. I also love
he's getting ready for Invisicon in Des Moines this month.
That's it. Yeah. And he's like got a whole table of test tubes, and he's putting, like, you know, blue liquid into yellow liquid, and he shakes it up and he drinks it through his Invisible Man cosplay. And Aladdin is there, just, you know, just supporting, just, you know, being a friend. But he, like, drinks this liquid, which I was like, what is your science here? Science, doing my science. But he, like, drinks it, and he's like, something has not worked. And from the other room, Mom is like, oh, your experiments failed again, did they?
Amazing.
God, Mom, why you gotta be a hater?
And that's where she makes him come knit for her for Saint Lirio and all that bullshit. And yeah, anyways, she has to finish the stockings for her Saint Lirio idol or whatever statue.
Yes.
He goes to the apothecary, who's this lovely lady.
Yeah.
Who is like, hey, Phoenix, I would love to know more about these chemical experiments you do. Like, you seem so smart. You're doing this. Like, I'm really taken with you. You want to have dinner at your place?
Like maybe tonight?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll come by. I'll bring flowers.
Super, like one of the most real people in this movie.
Like literally the only like average / normal person in this film is the apothecary lady.
I love that as a device too, because she stands out because she is so normal. Like she's
not a clown. She's not, 9 feet tall. She's not covered in face paint. She's not wearing spangles. She's just a normal person.
She's also like beautiful in a very normal looking way.
Yeah.
She's
like,
older. She's not like a sexy young woman playing above her age or whatever.
She's not wearing a giant wig. She's just a normal lady.
Yeah. And it's actually jarring to see someone this normal in a moment.
Because we've literally there's no one average in this film.
Yeah. So
unfortunately,
Phoenix is not behaving in an average way at the apothecary.
Well, there's an advertising going by, which is, hey, come into town. The wrestling troupe is coming to town featuring the world's strongest woman. And it's like, again, a big sort of paper mache, luchador wrestling thing. And a giant boa constrictor comes out of Phoenix's crotch.
Trousers. Yeah.
Trousers. Yeah. Yep. Literal trouser snake. And I was like, man, sometimes that happens. And he is wrestling with this like 200-pound python.
Yeah.
In front of the apothecary lady.
Yeah.
And she's like, are you okay? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I just had a spell. I just had a hallucination. See you tonight.
It's one of the great things about early dating is that you're just kind of like, let's just red flags aside. We'll put them in a drawer. We'll come back to them later. A date sounds fun. Yeah. Sure. I'll see you at your place tonight.
I just want to fill up a Tuesday night. That's
yeah. Yep. So he goes and sees there's like wrestling practice and he sees the Saint.
Yeah.
The giant muscular woman. There are the two actors here that are watching it to make sure that
so wild.
It's the pimp and Dolores from the streets earlier.
Yeah.
But now they're playing like a richer couple, like that she owns this venue.
Yeah, like they've kind of moved up in the world, but they're still, which, it's very like kind of Brechtian in that it's like the same actors were still in the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really matter. You can have like a cast of actors playing different characters and we go, oh, well, she has like a fox fur and, and he's got like a nice suit on. So they're not the same people. But it's interesting because they have a similar dynamic to Phoenix and Concha in that she says everything to him and that he doesn't speak. He just sort of gesticulates.
Yeah.
So she's like, that looks like enough. Tell the wrestlers to go hit the showers. And he just sort of stands up and like mimes shower.
Yeah. It's fascinating. 100% Brechtian. This is if Brecht had made a movie, this would have this feels 100% Ed. The way that people change stations in stations, metaphorical and literal, in a Brecht play is really common. It's a common device he uses where somebody is a beggar in one scene and later they're the cardinal of the church or something, because the costume is everything.
Yeah.
So Phoenix takes a flower to the showers where the Saint is showering. And the Saint is 100% a bodybuilder man wearing giant latex titties.
Yeah, fake boobs.
Fake boobs with a very, very feminine voiceover.
Yes.
She asks, so he basically is like, I'm in love with you. I have a little theater in my house that I would love to show you. You could come over. It would be great. Forgetting he already has a date.
Performance for one.
Mm-hmm. This moment when she's like, hey, you got a little bottle on you? And he pulls out a full fifth of tequila or whatever the shit he gives her. And she starts drinking it. And when we see them later arriving at his place, like there is like 2 inches left in this bottle, and she is still chugging it like it's the Diet Dr. Pepper she bought at Love's earlier that afternoon.
She smashes it, and he's like, shush, 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 no, shush, no, we gotta be quiet. My mom will hear. But then he pulls out another equally large bottle of tequila.
God, and she just starts in on that.
Listen, their date starts off pretty well. Like they seem to be having a good time.
Yeah. She she sits down and he does his little show, and he is in tuxedo. He's got Aladdin by his side. It's like an Egyptian little stage. There's like a mummy in a coffin. And he starts his show with ladies and ladies.
Yes.
Very cute.
Yep.
And he says, I will change this mummy into 100 flying doves. But when he opens the coffin, it is not a mummy, nor is it doves. It is mommy.
Yeah. And Concha is like, kill, kill, kill. Kill, mommy, kill.
And he tries to warn the saint about, like, you gotta please, like, you have to get out or fight me off something.
Yeah. She's like, and he's and this is where he's like really verbalizing. He's like, my mother wants me to kill you.
And when you understand, as we will shortly in this movie, that mommy was never there, that she was never present at all for no one can see her but him.
Yeah.
It just adds a layer of like, you are psychotic if you look at it from any other character's eyes.
Schismed.
Yeah. And neither is Aladdin.
Neither's Aladdin. Aladdin's a figment as well.
Yeah. He can't seem to bring the saint down because she is huge. She's very strong. And so Mother says, use the sword. And he does. Alma has gotten free. She had stopped by the burlesque theater earlier, which now has signs up that says closed.
Yep, because that act is not going so well.
Nope. We have a performer we have several performers that just went missing, and there was a lot of blood on the stage. So Alma got Concha's address essentially from these promotional posters and goes to her house. She finds under some blankets what looks to be Concha's body, because we just see the head.
Yeah.
Which is
under a bunch of chickens. Again, more chickens.
Yeah.
But yeah, she peeks under the blankets, and she has a look of understanding, as in like, oh, I know what the fuck is happening here.
Yeah. And she puts on her white face makeup and dresses in her ballerina outfit as an adult woman. So Phoenix has buried the saint. All the other dead are now like climbing out of the grave, being like, why did you kill us? Why did you do that?
Why did you kill me?
And runs into Alma. And she's trying to take him away, but Concha stops her.
Yeah.
It's like, you will never take my son away from me. Cut off her arms. And so he starts grabbing at the knives.
Yeah.
Alma, though, is really interesting because she holds her arms out like Mother in the beginning.
Yeah.
She's taking steps back, but she is not screaming. She's not running. She's like, listen, well, this is my body. You can do what you want with it. Just know
do it.
Do it on your own terms.
Yeah.
So it's a very passive resistance, much like the Santa Sangre crew at the beginning, much like Mother at the beginning, of like, if you're going to take down this house, you must take it down with me. But he, with Concha in front of him, so he's acting as her arms now. He lifts the knife, but instead of driving it into Alma, he brings it around and stabs Mother in the belly.
No.
You'll never be free of me. I'm inside of you. Evil cackle vanish.
Evil cackle, and she fades away.
The clowns come.
And then clowns. And then
we're
we're back
clowns.
to the kids. And then they literally sent in the clowns.
The clowns. So it's revealed that the body that Alma saw earlier was a mannequin. Yes. An armless mannequin of his mother that he had been performing with.
Yeah, and it does like a little flashback to them sitting at the piano, and it's him with the mannequin. They're like, oh no, it's a twist.
Yep. They destroy the mannequin, which is really fascinating because they throw the mannequin, which has got a dummy mouth, right? Like the the wood hinge mouth that goes up and down.
Horrifying.
Which they then throw out down into the atrium and crush it on the floor. But he has like a tongue come out.
It's like a tongue. And it's also, he's doing this with his clown friends. So it's all very like 1, a 2, a 3, a toss. Like, it's so whimsical. The most whimsical matricidal murder schism I've seen in a minute.
So then they he kicks over all the candles of the shrine to his mother. He crushes the mannequin. There's also a mannequin of Saint Lirio that he crushes and destroys. Alma helps him light it on fire.
I love that Alma is the one who picks up the candle, and she she's like, listen, this time in your life is done. Destroy this, and this is your chance at sort of freedom from, armless, homicidal mom persona.
She then pries off his Lee press-on nails. One by one.
Oh, but not before the woman from the pharmacy shows up.
Right.
And this is actually back when, like, she shows up right when Phoenix is being controlled by Concha to attack Alma. So she sees what she sees is Phoenix like getting ready to attack this girl in clown makeup. So she screams and she runs out to the nearest payphone and calls the police.
Yes. So the clowns, once he realizes, he sees his hands as his own after the nails are removed, and the clowns are all up on the balcony just lined up, and they just wave, smiling goodbye, and they disappear. Aladdin, he goes and kisses Aladdin. Like on the mouth, gives him a kiss and a hug, and then Aladdin walks backwards, waving, and disappears. And then Alma does the little flyaway gesture.
You are free.
I just recently rewatched the Hudsucker Proxy. I don't know if you've seen this movie or not, but it's but the little fly Muncie fly thing that they do with the bird gesture, that's what she's doing here. And so she walks him outside, and there are police sirens and lights. The cops all have their guns drawn, and they're like, put your hands up. And he does. And he says, like,
my hands. He has never been so happy to be arrested in his entire life.
The end.
Slut.
Shall we rate this movie?
Yes, let's.
How approachable is this movie if you are horror film averse? Let me give you a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being like, don't watch this movie because you're horror averse, or 10, even if you're horror averse, you can easily approach this movie. This is a tough one. I'll give Santa Sangre do we put it like right in the middle at like 5? Because it's not scary. It's pretty good. Let's drop that because it's really bloody, like in an Italian giallo bloody way.
Yeah, like that one murder of the tattooed woman alone is like brutal.
It's pretty brutal.
And also very like misogynist, brutal. Like it is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole list of like the slashery blood and gore is the thing. There's the animal death. There's
There's a lot of
there's a hypnotizing rape. There's a suicide. There's a description of horrible abuse of Saint Lirio. There's child abuse in this. So like, yeah, all kinds of trigger and content warnings for you out there on this one too. But very artful, very artful. This movie. And it is about some of the worst of society.
Yeah.
But also my hands. So I don't know. Let's say 4 out of 10. That's probably being generous, but let's say 4 out of 10. What about you, Cecil, as a horror film?
I mean, this is an interesting one because it doesn't have your normal horror beats per se, but it does. Like we really don't get to the horror genre until like at least halfway through. But then when it kicks in hardcore.
Yeah.
And then we've got zombies rising from the grave. We've got, maniacal murders with knives and the whole shebang. But because it is doing more than just your average horror film, it takes a while to get there. So for that, I don't know. I would say 6 out of 10. Bloody elephants.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Oh yeah. I forgot to give a rating thing. Let's say 4 out of 10 disappearing clowns.
Great.
Well, let's figure out what movie we will watch next. You have a scare die. I have a style die. We'll roll those up. See what movie matches those two things. So if you roll a 1, Cecil, our next movie scare is a ghost. 2, a monster. 3, an aquatic scare. 4, zombie. 5, animals attacking, and 6, a wild card, whatever scare we want.
That's a 3.
We're gonna get that aquatic scare that we just put on our list.
Right on, right off.
Okay, style. If we roll a 1, our next movie's style has to be Lovecraftian. 2, something pre-1950s. If I roll a 3, it's a sequel, prequel, or remake. 4, rural horror. 5, psychological horror, maybe something bloodless-ish. 6, a prestige horror. All right, what do we got here? I got a 1, Lovecraftian aquatic.
Okay.
Well, that's funny because those are both brand new to the list.
Wow.
Okay, cool.
I swear the dice are not loaded.
I know, it's really, really strange. So, Julia Schaffini, our guest last week, picked both of those. So, and Lovecraftian and aquatic, just it's peanut butter and chocolate, man.
That's right.
Okay, so we wrote down a couple on our list. We've already done Dagon, which was very Lovecraftian, very aquatic film a couple years ago. So I put a couple on here. Lovecraftian is pretty timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly.
Yeah, we might stretch this a little bit.
One I put on here, which is kind of a musical, is Lure.
Right.
I feel like the siren is very much I don't know that Lovecraft wrote directly about sirens, but there's something about the madness of the siren that feels super Lovecraftian.
The call of the siren.
Yes.
And this was sort of an extended version of what we watched in VHS, right?
That's right. I think you're right. Yeah.
Or similar filmmaker, something like that.
I believe
there's
you're
some
right.
Overlap there.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Another one I put on here is a 2020 film called Underwater, starring Kristen Stewart and Vincent Cassel. After an earthquake destroys their underwater station, 6 researchers must navigate 2 miles along the dangerous, unknown depths of the ocean floor to make it to safety in a race against time.
Uh-oh.
I get the sense that the Lovecraftian part of this is maybe slightly spoilery, but there's that. And another movie that popped up on Shudder a couple years ago, I didn't know about it. It's a 2014 film called Spring.
Yeah, I've never heard of this.
It's an American film, but a young man in a personal tailspin flees the U.S. to Italy, where he sparks up a romance with a woman harboring a dark primordial secret. Basically, she's a Lovecraftian monster, I believe. But
not enough people have deep primordial secrets these days.
No. So those are three that I threw onto this list. I don't know if you
Okay.
had any more you wanted to add to
No, those
that.
all sound good.
Let's look at Letterboxd because we put possible matchups on our Letterboxd account, and you can go there and start a Letterboxd account and contribute to some ideas. Okay. You wanna start with some of these,
Sure.
Cecil?
We've got Diamond Dogs recommended The Beach House 2019. A couple goes on vacation to a vacation home and they try to repair their relationship, but there's a mysterious infection that spreads through water, transforms the environment and them. Indie mumblecore horror, but delivers on the Lovecraft horror by the end.
Wow.
Let's see. That sounds
Mhm.
interesting. Katie says they haven't seen it, but the poster makes them think that Dark Waters, the 1993 film, which is
trying to think of this movie. This is
it's
such
not
a
Dark
familiar.
Water.
No, Dark Waters, 2019. Todd
Oh,
Haynes, right? Yeah.
No, 1993.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was like, Todd Haynes did a Lovecraftian horror? That's
Let's see.
exciting.
Okay. Girl travels to an island after the death of her father to find out why he funded a monastery. This is a Russian film.
Whoa.
This looks kind of crazy. Yeah, it looks like kind of evil nuns.
Okay. Oh, this is fascinating. Yeah, this might be in like an Italian thing too, because its director is Mariano Baiano.
Oh,
Baino.
yes. Oh,
Yeah,
this
sorry.
one looks real bananas.
That's
Yeah.
promising.
Let's see.
What else
have
we got
here? We've got A Cure for Wellness 2017, recommended by Fifth Hammerer. Ambitious young executive is sent to retrieve his company's CEO at an idyllic but mysterious wellness center at the Swiss Alps, but he soon suspects the spa's miraculous treatments are not what they seem.
That's
This
fun.
one I have seen. Very like moody, you know, like kind of what do you call it? Conspiracy horror in which you go to a retreat center and they're like, you're not well, and they're like, well, I feel well. You're not well.
Kind of unsane-ish.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now you cannot leave.
Mm-hmm.
And they Fifth Hammer also recommends Leviathan 1989, which that one you put up there, underwater, looked a lot like Leviathan.
Yeah.
Deep sea miners encounter a Soviet wreck and bring back a dangerous cargo to their base with horrifying results. And they must survive against a genetic mutation that hunts them down one by one. Very, like, again, claustrophobic, underwater. This one definitely has, like, some real space creature vibes to it.
Interesting.
Let's see. We've got King and Commoner recommended Sea Fever 2019. Oh, that's Sea Fever. The crew of a West of Ireland trawler marooned at sea struggle for their lives against a growing parasite in the water supply. Oh, man. We've got a lot of parasites in the water supplies.
Jesus.
Let's see. King and Commoner also recommends Sphere. Underwater plus unknowable object from the stars driving people insane, complete with giant squid.
This is such a 90s film too, because it's Sharon Stone, Samuel Jackson in a movie by based on a book by Michael Crichton.
Yes.
So yeah.
Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman, Liev Schreiber. Wow. All-star cast. Queen Latifah, Peter Coyote. What are we doing?
What?
Huey Lewis.
What? Huey Lewis is in the film?
I guess so. Okay.
And then finally,
Letters.
BGH recommends Color Out of Space 2019. The alien is alien in nature, but transmitted to Nick Cage's family through water on their farm. And this is probably, like, I would say, one of the strongest Lovecraft. Like, this is a direct Lovecraft translation, well-reviewed film. So the water is not necessarily like out in open water. It's more of like the water in our own homes, kind of aquatic water.
Fascinating. I didn't realize that it was water. I knew about the aliens, but I didn't realize it came up through the water because I haven't seen this movie. That's great. That's good to know because that's that gives us aquatic, and that's definitely Lovecraftian because it is
Yes.
a Lovecraft story.
Yeah.
What's speaking to you on
Ooh.
these lists here?
Interesting. This is a tough one because we've got a lot of like, if you squint, it fits one or both of the criteria.
Yes.
I mean,
Dark Waters really was speaking to me just because
I
it
gotta
looks
say,
bonkers, but
this one, like this sort of evil nuns, like the poster is just like a nun holding what looks like the Necronomicon, if the Necronomicon was a plate.
The Franklin Mint
Yeah.
collectible plates.
Oh my God.
From
Yes.
the
The Necronomicon
Necronomicon.
Franklin Mint collection. I mean, honestly, this looks pretty bananas. And it also is sort of like, and you know, it's available to watch, and the recommendations it's throwing up around it also seem pretty Lovecraftian. So I don't know. This one looks kind of weird and wild.
It does look weird and wild too.
But like, I think some second and third places might be some of our more truly aquatic, like Underwater, Leviathan, Sphere.
Yeah. I think Color Out of Space, just because I haven't seen it, looks interesting. Underwater looks really interesting. It does seem like, I mean, Kristen Stewart and Vincent Cassel, like that sounds
amazing actors.
It's amazing.
Also, A Cure for Wellness is like, I remember it kind of got panned a little bit, like, but I don't know, it might be worth a watch. Something a little more like moody horror.
Oh yeah, that's very true. Because we've had a couple of like a little bit corny-ish horror lately.
These dice have been wild these days, Jeffrey.
So it might be interesting to see something more slick modern horror, like 21st century horror. What do you think? I would say I would say you choose one for us, Cecil.
Me? Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm a sucker for a killer nun.
Let's do it then. That sounds really fun. Thank you, Katie, for that suggestion on Letterboxd. Let's do Dark Waters from 1993.
Yes.
The Mariano Baiano, think I'm pronouncing that wrong, but film, not the Todd Haynes 2016 one or whatever.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. And if you have thoughts on Santa Sangre or ideas for other movies that would have been good Lovecraftian meets aquatic, let us know on Instagram at randomhorror9 or on our Patreon, where we have public discussion threads for each episode, and you do not have to be a paying member to participate. And watch Dark Waters 1993 with us this weekend. Come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no one marking up your chest with a Bowie knife or nothing. Boo.
Boo.